Sure, let's talk about why 0 factorial is 1. I can understand why many of us have a hard time accepting this. I mean, 0 is such a notorious number. You can't divide by 0. You can't raise 0 to the power of 0. A million times 0 is equal to 0. It seems absurd that 0 factorial is equal to 1. This is made worse because most of us think of the factorial of a number as a shorthand way of writing a multiplication expression, where a number is multiplied by all numbers less than it but greater than 0. And although that is true, we're totally ignoring the definition of the factorial function. Let me explain. You have two shapes, a circle and a square. How many ways can you arrange them? Well, there are two ways of doing that, which is the same thing as 2 factorial. And if you had 3 objects, then there are 6 ways of arranging them, which is the same thing as 3 factorial. And when you have 4 objects, then you have 24 ways of arranging them. And you can see that as the number of objects increases, there are just many ways of arranging them. And so sometimes it's kind of hard to know exactly how many. And this is where the factorial function comes in. It tells us the number of ways of arranging n items. And if you think about it that way, then 0 factorial equals 1 starts to make a little bit of sense. But it does get a little philosophical, because 0 factorial is the same as asking how many ways can we arrange no objects. And so by definition, there's just one way of doing that. But wait, you can also prove it algebraically. You see, n factorial is the same thing as n times n minus 1 factorial. For example, 4 factorial is equal to 4 times 3 factorial. 3 factorial is equal to 3 times 2 factorial, and so on. And so therefore, 1 factorial is equal to 1 times 0 factorial. And if we isolate for 0 factorial, we get 1 factorial divided by 1. And so finally, we have 0 factorial is equal to 1. In the end, the greater point that I want to make is that math is just not about computing numbers or plugging things into formulas without really knowing what they mean. Everything in math is based on some sort of logic. The formulas help us distill information about the way the world works, but make sure you're also understanding the logic behind them.